All right, looks like we're live. Let me just make sure this is going out on the old YouTubes here. On the internet. Come on. Come on. Perils of a live stream, but I want to make sure the audio is fine before I just keep on. All right. This sounds like it's okay. All right. So a couple of things I want to talk about, then I guess I'll take a look at the chat. I was just going into this on Twitter right before I went live here. Because I keep seeing people like bitching about the X-Men not being in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Now, there's two things here. Number one, I don't give much of a shit. Don't get me wrong. I don't mind them being there. When it comes to a fighting game, I'm generally of the mindset of, if you think you have enough characters, put more in there. In fact, after Marvel vs. Capcom 2 having, what was it, 100 playable characters or some shit like that, anything less than that is ridiculous in my opinion. I don't like how small relatively 3 roster was. Although I think if you get the ultimate thing with all the DLC, that's the other thing. Fuck DLC. But no, just generally, I don't mind them being there by any stretch. The more the merrier with a fighting game. When you think you have enough characters, add some more. But at the same time, I'm not really missing them. Yeah, Wolverine, I like. I like a lot of the individual characters in the X-Men, but as a franchise, they're my least favorite major Marvel franchise. I've always been a big Avengers fan since, late 90s, beginning Kurt Busiek and George Perez's run. I love Spider-Man, pre One More Day, of course. Hell, even quote-unquote B-list guys like Ghost Rider and Daredevil mean way more to me than the X-Men. Fantastic Four, I'm not even a huge fan of, and they're way fucking cooler in my eyes than the X-Men. The X-Men's, whiny minority shit gets tiresome after a while. Hell, if you ever read the original Secret Wars, which is a pretty damn good read, the X-Men actually run off and do their own thing because they're a bunch of whiny minorities and they're upset that they think somebody called them a mutie or something. And the previous entries in the Capcom Marvel fighting games are way too X-Men heavy. Now, part of that's because, their whole marriage with Marvel started with that X-Men fighting game they made, Children of the Atom or something like that, and then went to X-Men vs. Street Fighter, and then it was the Marvel Superheroes one, and I think Marvel vs. Street Fighter, though maybe Marvel vs. Street Fighter came out first, I'm not sure there. But even once it became not just the X-Men, but Marvel, it still was way too X-Men heavy. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 has got shit tons of X-Men in it. It doesn't even have Thor in it or any of the Fantastic Four. You'd think you'd have at least Thing in there. It does have Dr. Doom to its credit. Maybe somebody like Daredevil or something. No, just throw in more fucking X-Men. They had Marrow in there, for fuck's sake. And if you're saying who the fuck is Marrow, well, it is literally this B-list, D-list X-Men character they were pushing hard for about 2 years there. 98, 99, 2000, something like that. 2 to 3 years. That nobody gives a fuck about. I remember my roommate at the time when we were playing Marvel vs. Capcom 2 heavily on his PS2. He was a huge X-Men fan, and even he didn't know who the fuck Marrow was. I knew who she was because for some reason she kept showing up in Spider-Man books for a while there too. But yeah, I don't mind that there's no fucking X-Men in it. And all these memes of oh, it looks so terrible. And, this shitty Dragon Ball Z fighting game looks better. Yeah, I guess, whatever. I'm biased because I could not give two shits about Dragon Ball Z. I'll take a bad Marvel game over a good Dragon Ball Z game, so I guess I'm biased. But I think it looks fine. Looks better in 3, in my opinion. That said, though, I will say this. One thing that is annoying, and I can understand why people are annoyed at it, is that everyone wants to act like this was some sort of artistic decision to leave the X-Men out. And I think they even left Dr. Doom out, who's been in almost all of these things. So no Fantastic Four representation. But I'm not sure on that. I'd have to look that up. But everybody's whining about the X-Men, which is fitting because all the X-Men ever do is fucking whine. But look, the reason is simple. Disney didn't let Marvel do it, or Capcom do it, because Disney is butthurt that they don't have the movie rights for X-Men. So they're not going to push X-Men at all, which I think is incredibly short-sighted on Disney's part. Look, you're going to get those rights back eventually. And in the meantime, you can make fucking comic books, which if you didn't fill them with liberal horse shit would actually sell. You can make, merchandise. I'm not sure on animated shit what they can and can't do, but I believe they can do video games of the shit. You can make other stuff, okay? You can sell X-Men t-shirts and shit, all right? You're fine. Well, but we don't want to, the movies, we're mad about that. Whatever. Fucking whatever. You're being butthurt. You're doing shit out of spite here. Now, don't get me wrong. Fox does shit out of spite, too. Fox made that Fan Four Stick movie out of spite last year just so they wouldn't lose the rights to a franchise they want to do nothing with. So, yeah, when Capcom's like, well, we didn't put the X-Men in there because nobody knows who the X-Men are anymore. Meanwhile, you put fucking Capcom characters that you haven't made a game out of in 30 fucking years or something. No, that's not why you did it. You could just be honest with it. You could say, you wouldn't lose. Maybe Disney is demanding you don't say this, but it wouldn't even, you could just say, hey, Disney doesn't want to push the characters they don't have movie rights for. All right. It's understandable. I think it's a touch petty, but I guess it's understandable. I think it was a mistake to do no X-Men. What I think would have been better and would have seemed far less petty is if they'd have just minimized the X-Men. Put fucking Wolverine and Magneto in there and that's it, or something like that. All right? Like, that would have made sense. And then if somebody asked you, of course you're going to want to push the characters you're making movies out of. That makes sense. Yeah, you're going to want to push, Carol Danvers. Who is always going to be Miss Marvel in my book, not Captain Marvel. God, I hate her lesbian haircut she's got going on. Have her fucking head shaved like Skrillex or some shit. I used to love Carol Danvers as a character back when she was an actual character and not a bunch of. Once they turned her into Captain Marvel, it was just all girl powery shit. She used to be a deeply flawed character. She was just a bit of a fuck up, not a heavy fuck up, but. Like she was an alcoholic and she got thrown off the Avengers at one point. Just enough of a fuck up to make her an endearing and interesting character. Yeah, the Miss Marvel series that started in like 2006 is actually a really good read. There's I can't remember exactly what it was, but there's something like Human Torch called her on her cell phone when she was flying towards something she wanted to go do superhero stuff with, and she drops her cell phone or something. And my favorite is in the Avengers run that Kurt Busiek and George Perez did. She got thrown off the team because she was hiding her alcoholism from the Avengers, and they just and it was so bad it was actually fucking up her powers a little bit, and she just wouldn't come clean. So they just they kind of had to intervention her and say, you're off the team. Well, then the Avengers go off to the moon to do some Avengers stuff. Because in the Marvel Universe, on the moon, there's an actual area called the Blue Area, which is like this ancient alien shit. It's this area that has where alien technology is holding an actual atmosphere there, hidden on the moon. And no one really knows why it's there. Or it's some ancient alien shit. Some aliens left it there. Well, the Avengers had to go up there and do something. They're fighting some aliens or something. Anyways, Miss Marvel just decides, well, you know what? I'm going to go help them anyways. And I'm going to fly to the moon. Well, the moon's really fucking far. And it turns out she wasn't actually able to fly through space. She just assumed that she could. And, she passes out the upper atmosphere and it crashes down to Earth. Good stuff. Good stuff. I adored Carol Danvers as a character. Miss Marvel. It's a shame what the hell was happened to her. The reason she was actually a fuck up, this kind of interesting Marvel history, is that, Rogue from the X-Men, the reason Rogue can fly, even though that's not really her fucking power, her power is the energy vampire shit, The reason she can fly in the comic books is because in her first appearance, when she was still with the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, she was fighting the Avengers, and she actually latched on to Carol Danvers long enough that she was able to permanently absorb one of the powers. But that really, really fucked up Carol Danvers. Like, it put her in a coma for a while, and when she woke up, she's had like kind of emotional problems and shit after that, you know, from the fucking soul rape that Rogue did to her. and and that kind of led to the alcoholism and shit like that. All right. Well, anyways, enough rambling on about comic books, because as I've been informed before, it is low T to like things. So we'll just have to move on. One thing I wanted to cover. Now, I shit on the Amish here all the time because the Amish are bad and they should feel bad. And if you haven't checked it out, go to my VidMe channel and check out the latest video, a fun fact about the Amish. Good stuff. I highly recommend it if I do say so myself about my own fucking shit. But no, the Amish are bad and they should feel bad. Now, the interesting thing about the Amish is they have acquired a tremendous amount of power in this area. They buy up tons of land. I mean, they basically operate above the law. A keen example of this is I was at a friend's house the other day, and he lives kind of tucked away in the woods. And as I was driving this little windy road that leads to his house that's in the woods, I noticed on the creek running parallel to the road, a bunch of the woods have been cleared out in a section there. And it turns out that the Amish were just clearing that area out for some reason. Whatever, they're fucking locusts. They don't live off the land so much as rape it. But there was actually regulations where they weren't supposed to go within something feet of the creek, and they were like 3 feet from the creek. I can't remember the exact number. It was like they were supposed to be 50 feet, and they're like 3 feet from the creek. It wasn't even close. But they don't give a fuck, and nobody holds them to account. Well, here's an interesting story about the bullshit that they pull. So, right where I live, right around where I live, there's a gun shop called Malin's Gun Shop. And apparently, now a lot of this I am hearing secondhand, so maybe I've got some details wrong here. But I'm going to go with it because it's the gossip of my town, and it really illustrates a point. But caveat, I haven't interviewed the guy or anything like that. But he's talked to people I know, very close friends, even my father, and same story each time. He's that whole top of the hill area where his gun shop is. The Amish just bought up the whole fucking area. Who the hell knows what they're going to do with it? I don't know. Maybe make more giant pools of shit where they can drown in. But anyways, they told him that he would have a year. I think he was going to pay rent or something, but he would have a year before they started construction that he could just, liquidate his store and phase out. Well, a week after the ink is fucking dried on the paper, that fucking cocksucker, that fucking cocksucking flat hat motherfucker goes into his gun shop and says, "Oh, by the way, you don't open on Sundays and stop selling the handguns." Because I don't know. I guess they think handguns are a witch or whatever bullshit they believe. So they fuck this guy over. I mean, he's like 90% fucking handguns that he's got to fucking liquidate. Don't ever do business with them in this. Never fucking do business with them. I almost got one time a job as a driver for those fuckers. Because that's the fun thing about them. Even though they think it's wrong to fucking drive a car, it's okay to pay someone to drive a car for them. For their businesses or whatever. And I'm so glad I didn't get that fucking job. I ended up getting a job somewhere else. This was years ago. Probably close to 10 years ago. My God, I would have hated working for those fucking people. The smell alone being around them. That's the other interesting thing. That friend I mentioned that lives in kind of a wooded area, he's actually got a little wood shop that he's running out of a really nice finished garage he had built. Great stuff. He actually did if you've ever seen on my Twitter, I had to make some custom Zelda bookends for me that actually had little slots to put like amiibos in them. They look gorgeous. Great stuff. Anyways, he had him do up some welding for him, right? And like the Amish suck at everything. Everything. They're lousy farmers. They're lousy. They're okay woodworkers. They're okay carpenters. That's it. And don't eat fucking Amish food. I got freaking sick from it one time because I ate fucking Amish food at that flea market I used to run the comic book stand at. Yeah, don't fuck. I mean, it should be surprising that people don't fucking bathe and wash their ass on a regular basis are going to give you food poisoning when you eat their food. That really should. That's not exactly fucking surprising. That people that smell like shit and death are going to cook you food that's going to make you sick. I don't know why that shocked me. But anyways, these pieces of metal he ended up having to put putty all the fuck over them before he painted them because this was the worst. This was such a horrendous welding job. I couldn't believe these fuckers could look them in the eye and hand these into them and expect payment for them. I've never welded metal before in my fucking life, and I can't imagine I would have done worse. In fact, I'm going to say I wouldn't have done worse because if I'd have done them that badly, I'd have been like, sorry, these are going to be a day late or something because I clearly got to figure out what the fuck I'm doing here. Somebody says, aren't the Amish almost extinct? Kind of. They are extremely inbred. Marriages among even first cousins and occasionally sisters are not siblings are not uncommon. They do breed like rabbits. They breed like gremlins in a pool, I would fucking argue. But I mean, I've heard horror stories from people that, work in hospitals that, a woman isn't even out of the hospital from giving birth before the guy's, the guy's asking the nurse how fucking long he has to wait before he plants the seed again. They're fucking animals. They really are. But yes, they are incredibly inbred. You're hard pressed to find one that at the very least doesn't have glasses, and that's the first thing to start to go when the gene pool gets a touch shallow. I don't believe I've seen one that doesn't have glasses that was over like the age of 10 in fucking years. But yeah, they're incredibly inbred. A couple years ago, they had to, this was like 99 or some shit. They actually had to like send busloads of women out to the Amish in Ohio and have them send women back because their gene pools were getting so fucking, hideous. Somebody says they're making a lot of white babies. Well, I don't think, trust me, if that's the white race, you don't want them, all right? Fucking mongoloid babies with 2, 3, or 4 extra fucking chromosomes. Yeah, that's not the race worth saving right there. Trust me. Yeah, they are incredibly inbred. Yeah. Constantly marrying their first cousins, constantly marrying fucking siblings and shit like that. Because part of the reason they have to have so damn many kids is there's an extremely high dropout rate, which isn't fucking surprising. I mean, the moment a kid thinks he can and can scratch together enough money that he doesn't feel like he'd ever need to rely on family again, he gets the fuck out of there. Tons of them fucking leave. Tons of them fucking leave. And that's part of the reason I got to have so fucking many. One of the things that's interesting that's popping up around here, and it'll be very interesting to see how this goes, because, I mean, Harrisburg can't touch them. They can't legislate against them because they just have too much power in these 4 or 5 counties that they're in, especially this county. One of the things that's interesting is they're buying up property left and right to try and rent to people. Now, as we well know, We live in a world that doesn't have freedom of association anymore. We fucking gave that up. As much as the Christians want to cling to it a little bit here these last few years. No, sorry, you got to bake dildo cakes for faggots. That's the world we have right now. You know, and boomers, if you're upset about that, well, you lost that battle in the 60s, so I don't want to hear it. You know, this is all your fault, but that's a whole different topic. They won't rent to unmarried people. And they won't rent to anyone they suspect are homos. You know, which, you know, if you have a roommate and they even suspect it, they're not going to fucking rent to you. And obviously, if you're out in the open. Now, this is going to be very interesting because I guarantee you this is going to come to a head. Now, obviously, you know, if you're gay and you wanted to move in with your fucking butt buddy, you just pretend like it was a roommate and maybe you can get through the process. But if you end up with one of these fucking legislation happy goddamn queers, it's going to be really interesting to see, you know, this is good. That is a political version of an immovable object meets an irresistible force. I mean, you know, faggots are the fucking protected class right now. But in this area, Amish are the fucking protected class. So if that shit comes to a head at a court, I'd be very curious to see what happens. And I mean, I don't even know what the fuck I'd root for there. I mean, that's what was the tagline to Aliens versus Predator? Whoever wins, we lose. Trust me, there's no good guys in that fight. But I would be very interesting to see what gives. And I mean, who knows? You know, I mean, so far none of the Muslims have, you know, I mean, as much as I don't know, you know, leftists tend to side with whatever's most destructive. They don't always side with the faggots. They'll side with the Muslims over them. So, you know, because leftists are just inherently uncivilized people. But again, it's not really leftists that are in charge here. It's just baby boomer cucks. I mean, I know the people in this area would obviously side with the Amish, but then, you know, at the state level, what are they going to do? And it'd be really interesting to see how that plays out. And I have to imagine that kind of a conflict is inevitable. But yeah, I'd be very curious to see how that shakes out. I think I'd root for the fags, and here's why. I don't think it would be a big enough. I don't think the fags losing it would be a big enough blow to the fucking gay mafia, but I think it would be a big blow to the Amish mafia around here. And plus, this is entirely selfish on my part, but I have to deal with the fucking Amish way more than I have to deal with faggots. So, you know, that's the problem I have to deal with. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the faggots are a problem too, but to me, the Amish are a more immediate problem just because of where I live. And again, I don't think it would make a dent in the gay mafia, but it would seriously suck the wind out of the fucking stranglehold the Amish have here. So I guess I'd root for the faggots there. Very, 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 I don't know, 47 fucking varies in that sentence, reluctantly. Let's see. At the end of the day, the Amish are fucking white males, so they're screwed. Yeah, I guess that might be the problem there. It says there are no gay Amish. No, not really, but there are some degenerate motherfuckers in the Amish. Just, you know, fucking your fucking sister to breed with her is pretty goddamn degenerate. Well, I don't care if we make retard babies. We'll just fucking just make enough till one comes out right, I guess. They are very much a death cult. I mean, you know, for all they're quaint and they live off the land. No, they rape the land. There's no there's no idea how to even remotely farm sustainably or anything like that. You know, I mean, farmers, you know, from the time period they mimic had a better idea of how to respect the land and get good crop yield and all that kind of shit. And the other thing is, I mean, they have no respect for animal life. That's a given. You know, they abuse their animals horrifically, and they run the puppy mills in this area. I mean, the puppy breeding things they do are just horrific. But they have no respect for their own life. I mean, you know, everybody says an Amishman is a pacifist. That's not true. An Amishman will beat the shit out of his animals, his wife, and his children. You know, the three last things you should raise your hand to in anger. It's funny too. A buddy of mine told me a story because, I mean, the Amish are just loaded like you couldn't fucking believe. They're kind of like Ebenezer Scrooge. You know, they make all this money and yet they live like shit. You know what I mean? They don't even, what was it Ebenezer's nephew said? He doesn't even make himself merry with that money, let alone, you know, give it to others or anything. But they're fucking loaded. And a buddy of mine actually had a case where a buggy, like, the horse fucking lost control and the buggy, like, it dragged the buggy across the side of his car and just fucked up the side of his car. Well, you know, the Amish didn't want him calling the police or nothing, no insurance companies, so they don't have any fucking insurance. So they just, like, throwing him $100 bills. You know what I mean? They basically gave him what the fucking car cost. And I tell you what, if a fucking buggy ever hits me, it'll take 3 ambulances and a fucking 2 lawyers to get me off the scene there. I am going to be walking around a fucking fake neck brace. I am going to fucking, like, how much money to get you to shut up? I don't know how much you got. It's $1 more than that. I will fucking sue their smelly shit covered balls to the wall. Not even for the money, merely out of my hatred of them. I would throw the money away if that's what, like, I wouldn't even, I'm like, I don't want your money. I'll put it in a big pile Joker style and burn it at the end of it. I don't want your fucking money. It's not about the money. It's about sending a message. Let's see. Has anyone told the We Was Egyptians Black that they are claiming credit for an extremely incestuous monarchy? The pharaohs married their siblings. A lot of monarchies fucking fell into that trap. We have to keep the bloodline pure. And then, gee, I wonder why King George has 3 eyes or something. Somebody says, here, check out my tip jar. Yeah, I do have the tip jar down there. You know, tips of any size. Greatly appreciate it. Yeah. I need to be able to afford that good lawyer if a fucking buggy hits me. I'm serious. I get me the most juice sounding fucking lawyer I can find. I'll go in the phone book and just find fucking, you know, fucking Marcus Sheckelstein, attorney at law. I will sue some balls to the wall. Again, it's not even about the money. It's about sending a message. Fucking have them hand over their fucking farmland. I don't even know how. I don't even like mowing the grass, and I'll be stuck with cornfields. Let's see. Buggy scrapes Bechtloff's car. Oh, good God. I'll be fucking carrying me from the scene. Oh my God, I get whiplash. Oh my God. Though I don't know. I guess saying all that shit live here kind of ruins the plan. I'll have to quickly go home and delete this live stream if it ever happens. Let's see a bunch of people talking about monarchies inbreeding or something. Let's see. Just going to the chat here. You have to say, I've been watching a lot of that guy T's videos lately, and for the longest time, I just assumed he was basic bitch libertarian. Just normie tier shit. But yeah, I watch his videos. I mean, he's basically Christopher Cantwell dark. It's nice. I really enjoy his stuff. Let's see. That guy T is pretty based. Yeah, I like his stuff. I might send him an email, see if he wants to come on here. I mean, I'm probably punching up trying to get him on here. He's a bit of a bigger deal than me. But you never know. Can't hurt to ask. I mean, I ask a lot of people to come on here, and a lot of times the only way I have to get in touch with them is send them an email or some shit like that. And who knows if they even see it? I'm sure they get fucking tons of email. Yeah. Let alone they don't know who the hell I am or something. They're like, oh, who the fuck's this? Fuck them. I'm not doing it. Yeah. I mean, I was glad to get Mr. Matoker on there, but I caught him right at the right time. I think you'll have more of an issue with the fact that he has social anxiety on live streams. Well, I mean, nobody fucking he's done live streams. I mean, I just watched one of his live streams last night, so I mean, no reason to be socially anxious around my fucking nerdy ass. He says he was going to do one with Lauren Southern or something. Was planning it. I mean, can we all like stop pretending these girls have fucking shit to say? I mean, I don't even dislike Southern. She's harmless. And then there's the more hardcore parkour fucking white nationalist version of her, Lana something or another. I keep getting the two of them mixed up. Because it's like one right wing blonde and another. Lauren's a bit more normie tier, but still, it's like Julie Borowski had a tweet the other day, and I have to give her credit. She was dead on with this. She said, "If I was a man, I would have less views, but be more respected." She was really on to something with that, because I have to admit, I mean, and don't get me wrong, there's a reason I think this, but I see a fucking chick who's on the right, and I just assume everybody watches her because she's a chick. If I'm being honest, I just assumed everybody was sucking that guy T's dick because he's black. Oh, beige black guy. All that shit. And that guy T's fucking brilliant. That he deserves probably more attention than he gets. I'm not going to name names, but I think he's considerably more. I think he's considerably more intelligent than some of the 1488 crowd I could name. Ironically enough, given the distribution of IQs among races. But yeah. So she said, now look, in Joey Borowski's case, I don't know that she'd be much more respected. She would definitely not have the attention she has. Maybe she would be a bit more respected because, again, you see a cute chick and you just assume that everyone likes her because she's a cute chick, because that's most often the case. everybody fucking follows Milo because, I could prove I'm not homophobic or whatever shit like that. You know what I mean? Based homo. Now, yeah, Milo is charming and funny. But he would have half of his fucking audience, if that, if not for the based homo. See, I'm not homophobic fucking effect. See, look at my token. Look at the token blank. See? But with Julia Borowski's case, and again, I haven't watched her in quite a while, so maybe I'd be very, very surprised if I gave her stuff a listen again. But at least a few years ago, it just all seemed like libertarianism 101, with a cute girl saying it. And there's a place for that. I mean, that's fine. You people got to start somewhere when they get red pilled, as we like to say. If she moves somebody away from the left because they were like, oh, what's this chick got to say? And then it's like, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense. And then maybe they, that's fine. But let's not pretend, like it's like she's not saying anything you couldn't have read in a fucking Ron Paul book 10 years earlier, or a fucking, Harry Brown book 20 years ago, It's just libertarianism 101. You just go pick up The Great Libertarian Offer by Harry Brown, and that is just pure basic bitch libertarianism 101. And you just put a cute fucking chick on the cover of that, and you have Julie Borowski. And to some extent, I mean, like, there's nothing wrong with the fact that a guy likes to fucking look at a pretty girl. There's a reason all the news networks long ago realized the InfoBabe fucking formula. During the afternoon, we have, fucking Legs McGee in her short skirt telling us the news. Somebody in the chat says, I can't stand libertarian thought. Everything is Marxist. That's what it is, TBH. No, that's not what it is. Again, you'll go fucking hell, real libertarianism, if it leans towards any kind of quote-unquote authoritarianism, it would lead towards monarchy. It would lead towards the absolute privatization of everything, ultimately including the government. What is monarchy but a government that's privately owned by an individual or family? So he says, I only watch Chris because he's a Bulbasaur. That's true. I identify as a Bulbasaur. Chris, do you watch Tom Woods? I really don't. Wait, no, is that the Acts 17 guy? No, it's David Woods, I think. David Wood. Something like that. So he says libertarianism is not the same as the Libertarian Party. Yeah, exactly. It's not. Real libertarianism has much more in common with that guy T or Christopher Cantwell than Gary fucking Johnson or whatever. Now, the libertarian movement has devolved into being about nothing but weed and buttholes, but that's not what libertarianism is. Somebody says the Libertarian Party is dude weed. That's all. Yeah, that's all it is. And don't get me wrong, I'm actually perfectly fine with legalizing weed. All right, I would. Were up to me, I'd legalize the shit across the fucking board. Hell, I'd make weed 50% off on fucking election days. Keep the leftists home. Fucking free weed on election day if you don't fucking vote. How about that? But no, it's drug war is an abysmal fucking failure. They can't keep drugs out of prisons. All right. Motherfuckers who are under constant surveillance and 24-hour lock and key can't be kept away from the shit. So don't tell me we just need a little bit, the government just needs to try a little bit harder and we'll fix that problem. Not going to happen. Gary baked the cake fat Johnson. Exactly, yeah. Yeah, the modern libertarian movement being all about fucking weed and polyamory and shit. Yeah, I'm fine. First of all, I mean, I'm absolutely fine with it. It's medical marijuana. You know, I have no interest in fucking, ripping medicine out of some sick person's hand. And yes, it has medical benefits. But no, you don't need a fucking war on drugs. 100 years ago, you buy fucking heroin at the drugstore. Little fucking kid, go buy heroin at the drugstore. Somehow the streets weren't fucking littered with heroin addicts. It's funny how that works. I mean, hell, in high school, I remember it very clearly. In high school, it was just a running gag that it was easier to get your hands on weed than fucking alcohol. Alcohol was legal and regulated, and it was much more difficult for a teenager to get his hands on than fucking weed, than the thing that is forbidden. Now that's largely because the fucking Amish sell it in this area. Because again, holy shit, this one group of people that we allow to operate above the law do a bunch of illegal shit. Shocking, I know. But everyone knew. Everyone knew in high school. And I never smoked weed, mind you. I never fucking smoked weed. Fucking redheads were my only vice, all right? I barely even drank. Even to this day, I'm a grown-ass fucking man in his 30s. I barely drink. Barely. I can do it. And it's so fucking, I seem to be this rarity where I'm not a teetotaler, but I'm not an alcoholic. That seems to be the only two speeds we have in our fucking culture these days. I can drink occasionally and enjoy it. But no, I never fucking, I was a fucking nerd, man. My disposable income was going towards fucking nerd shit, I go, if I had a bunch of money, I wasn't going to buy some weed. I was going to go to the fucking comic book store and buy a shit ton of Spider-Man books. So how do we convince the Nat Sox to gas the Amish? I don't know. They all have biblical names, but you can convince them they're all Jewish. I don't know. I mean, they're Jewish when it comes to how they pinch a penny. I'll tell you that much. What was it Forney likes to call them? Stone Age Jews. I like to call them pacifist Muslims. I think that's really fitting for how fucking dirty and backwards they are. Let's see. The Amish like to buy candy from Walmart and sell it as Amish made candy. It wouldn't surprise me. Oh, they're terrible cooks. They are fucking terrible cooks. Don't get me wrong. I realize that's weird for where I live, but I don't really like I don't know, home style country kitchen type of food, I guess you could call it, the quote unquote comfort food. That's never been a thing for me. I like a little bit more flavor than that. I like things generally, I like things very spicy. But even aside from that, I like Italian flavoring or something like that. Just the bland ass country kitchen shit. But even by that standards, even people that generally like it will tell me like, yeah, the Amish suck at it. Um, Somebody says black hair greater than gingers. Well, I mean, you're allowed to be wrong. You know, I'm not spoony with the band hammer, so I guess I'll allow you to continue to spread lies in my fucking chat. But somebody says country kitchen sucks. It really does. It's just bland, fucking tasteless slop, in my opinion. It's not healthy for you. It's not good for you. I mean, there's plenty of unhealthy things you can eat that taste fucking way better, and there's plenty of, you can eat healthy pretty easily if you put the fucking effort into cooking at home, which I've been trying to do lately. So he says, I like the Amish donuts. Somebody else says red hair greater than anyone else, and that's correct. Gingers are the master race. Everyone else is just mudbloods. But the Amish donuts, that's interesting. There's something in this area called false knots, and they're disgusting. They're kind of like donuts, but they're disgusting. And this area, actually, Fat Tuesday, like the day right before Lent, is in this area, kind of, because a lot of the Christian sects native to this area, been in this area forever, including the Amish, do the Lent thing. And although I don't know how exactly the Amish fucking go about it, what the hell can they give up? Do they actually start bathing for 40 days? I don't know. But anyways, in this area, we have like False Knot Day. And it's sort of like Fat Tuesday. You eat a bunch of shit right before Lent and eat a bunch of high octane garbage. Well, and I mean, everywhere in this area, fucking, it's all about it. Like basically every job I've ever had has the boss has brought in fucking false knots for False Knot Day. And what it is it's like, okay, imagine like a big powdered jelly donut. You know what I mean? Okay, imagine that. Only there's no fucking jelly inside. And it's made of like this nasty fucking potato bread that is not at all fitting for anything remotely like a dessert food. And I swear I turn into like an Alzheimer's patient every fucking year with this shit because I'm looking at it and I just can't accept that it could possibly be as bad as I remember. I'm looking at it, it's like, well, it's a fucking free donut. It can't be that bad. It can't be that fucking bad. And I'll take like 2 bites of it and the rest of it going to trash. I'm like, nah. If I was starving to death, I would lick the sugar off of it and throw the rest in the trash. That's how much I don't like those fucking things. Amish donut equal bagel. No, a bagel would be better. A bagel I would rather eat a plain fucking bagel with no cream cheese or butter or anything like that. That would taste better than a fucking Amish donut. And it's mostly the Amish that do the fucking false nuts. Somebody says the pharaohs were redheads. Actually been proven through DNA testing. So we was gingers? Or no, the gingers say we was Kangs. Okay. Gingers was Kangs. You heard it here first. But aren't the Amish trad? Actually, someone argued that on my Twitter. They're like, oh no, I don't like the Amish. They're good at preserving their traditions and culture. I'm like, okay, their culture and traditions are shit, though. I mean, that's like saying, like, we should emulate, like, the fucking backwards tribe you find in the middle of the Amazon that, like, kills people and eats them because they preserved their culture for so long. Isn't that great? Yeah, but their culture is shit. Their culture didn't deserve to be preserved. All right? Let's see. Bunch of people rambling on about the Bechtloff. If reincarnation were real, what would you deserve to come back as? What would move you up? I've never seen the appeal of reincarnation. It almost seemed, I don't know, just an endless cycle. Like, seems crueler than an eternity in hell, damn near. Um, the culture is shit. No, I'm not gonna read that. I don't. I'm not gonna. I'm not talking about somebody that I don't want on the show. You know, I'm not talking about somebody that's not going to be here to defend themselves. I'm a former Buddhist, and reincarnation doesn't make any sense since it has no start. I could see reincarnation being part of a coherent theology if it was something like, if it was something like, almost a purgatory thing where you got, and some of them have this, but generally a lot of them, it's almost like an endless cycle. Like you're just constantly fucking paying for last live sins. I don't know. And again, maybe I don't, I don't claim to be a fucking expert on a lot of Eastern religions that have this shit. My knowledge of them is very, very surface level. Also, I don't know. I don't know exactly what they consider to be the essential person ultimately. I mean, you don't have your memories. You don't have, do you even have similar personality traits? You know what I mean? Um, what is the essential aspect of the soul if you're just constantly, a million different fucking things, then you're ultimately nothing. If you can live life as a fucking beetle, and then you can live life as this one guy, and then as this other person, and then as a fucking pig or something, and then then you come back as a whale or whatever the hell. What are you ultimately? What is your soul even at that point? I mean, nothing essentially you survives that. You might as well argue that, I came back as a tree because, fucking roots broke into my coffin and absorbed the raw material of me and grew into a tree. I mean, we all live on in that regard. We all rot away and ultimately become, part of the circle of life again, materially speaking. Um, but yeah, I don't know a ton about those religions, so I mean, I'm the wrong guy to ask. It's not. I'm not going to give you a deep lecture or study on Buddhism or Hinduism. I only know the basic surface level shit on it. Um, Bechtloff was a plant in a previous life, hence his love of Bulbasaurs. Well, no love. No love. No lie. I've always loved plant monsters in fiction. Like, there's just something I find really fascinating about that. Like, as a kid, I loved that Little Shop on the horrors movie. I like that dumb movie where Godzilla fights the plant monster, even though I don't even like most Godzilla movies that much. I liked Poison Ivy as a kid and Swamp Thing and characters like that. I liked the fucking plant monster and Darkwing Duck as a kid, the plant dude, whatever. Um, yeah, I've just always kind of been fascinated by like a plant animal hybrid or a sentient plant or something like that. It's always kind of fascinated me as a science fiction / fantasy trope. So when I first played Pokemon, which it was even a few years old at that point, I picked the Bulbasaur as my starter. And the whole Bulbasaur meme started from a reaction article where I joked that, I was making fun of Brianna Wu. And I was like, well, Brianna Wu gets to be a woman, then I get to be a Bulbasaur. So that's how that came about. Somebody says Poison Ivy equal redhead with plant powers equal Bechtloff's perfect woman. Oh, hell yeah. I fucking, You gotta watch it though. She'll use you up though. But somebody says Swamp Thing. Yeah, I like Man Thing in Marvel Comics, even though I mean he's not even really a character, he's a plot device. If you're not familiar with a Man Thing, it's basically like imagine Swamp Thing, but he's like barely sentient. He only has almost animal cunning about him. And for some reason his swamp is like the nexus of realities, like it's a gateway. It's kind of a natural gateway to other universes. For some reason. What the hell is the other? Oh yeah, and the other weird power he has is if you're feeling afraid and you touch him, it makes you burn. Whatever knows fear burns at the touch of the Man Thing. It was the 70s, you know. A lot of people accuse Man Thing of Marvel was ripping off Swamp Thing, but if they did, then they must have had somebody inside the offices at DC, because Man Thing actually saw publication before Swamp Thing. There's actually, it's a bit of a controversy in comic circles of whether or not that truly was a ripoff. I mean, because you would think Swamp Thing would be the first one, because Swamp Thing is the more fitting name. You know, what the fuck is a Man Thing? Somebody says she'll take your soul and you'll like it. Yeah, probably would. God forgive me. This is my weakness. Somebody says I miss Reaction. Had some articles from time to time you didn't see elsewhere. Yeah, I missed it too. I really don't think Roosh gave it enough time. I mean, far be it for me to tell him how to run his business. He has a successful media empire and a online mini media empire, and I don't. But I don't think he gave it enough time, but I also don't think his heart was even really was ever in it. You know, he just saw an opportunity, thought he could make a quick buck, and it didn't pan out that way. But I mean, I've dissected what I think was done right and what I think was done wrong about Reaction. And to some extent, you know, we were kind of, that format is almost kind of past its prime of the, you know, articles about video games. You know, these days everybody will just watch a Let's Play and that's it. So is Man Thing a cross between Poison Ivy and Jason Voorhees? Almost. He's one of those characters, though, that he's really just kind of a, you know, more a plot device than anything else. It's funny, when the Ultimate Universe was still kind of new, they showed Man Thing in an issue of actually Ultimate Marvel Team Up. It was a Spider-Man spin-off book, but it was, you know, they introduced a few B-list characters into the Ultimate Universe, their own versions, and they introduced an Ultimate Man Thing. It was basically the exact same kind of thing, although I don't think they touched on him being the nexus of reality or anything. It was just a swamp monster, basically. But I remember, like, you know, my roommate at the time was all like, he read it and all, and he goes, and he just, his first thing after he read it, he goes, so does Ultimate Man Thing hang out with Normal Man Thing? Because he could. And I was like, that's a good question. I don't know what two barely sentient plant monsters have to say with each other. You know, maybe they just stand around next to each other for a while and then wander off. Somebody says DC had relationship between Harley Quinn and Ivy, which totally ruined her Ivy personality because she hated humans. Well, her hatred was more a hatred of men, more so. I mean, she's that typical, you know, fucking hippie Gaia worshiper. But also, I mean, did Poison Ivy really love Harley that much? I mean, you know, maybe as much as Poison Ivy was capable of it, but that's not a great deal. I mean, that's less of an abusive relationship than her relationship with the Joker, but it's still, she's basically being used. I mean, you know, it's funny. It's kind of a thing comic nerds will banter back and forth, you know, argue back and forth on this. Does the Joker love Harley Quinn? And I kind of answer that, well, I think he does to the extent he's capable of it. which is not a whole hell of a lot. Um, so he says, what's the deal with no more Sin City comics? They're good. Frank Miller just thought they ran their course, I guess. I think if you get the little trade paperback digest or whatever, there's like 7 volumes of them. I have the ones that weren't in the first movie. There's a few that were in the first movie that, I mean, are almost word for word. There's very little that was changed. But after I saw the movie, I had not read any of the comics after the first movie came out, and I loved the first movie. So I went and just promptly bought up the rest of those books as soon as I could. I have not seen the second. I mean, when they're like 2 or 3 motherfuckers dead since they filmed the first one, I don't know why they didn't make a sequel to that in a hurry. I don't know what the hell happened there. But I don't know. Sin City, the first Sin City movie doesn't get enough love. And I don't know why, because it's fucking fantastic. But I remember even when Brittany Murphy died and everyone would go through like list of movies she was in, nobody ever mentioned Sin City. They would mention like movies I'd never fucking heard of, even like some bullshit rom-com that like 90 people saw, but they're like, yeah, we're not gonna mention Sin City. It's weird. I don't know. Somebody says Harley is the object of Joker's obsession sometimes, which is as close to love as he gets. But yeah, that's about right. So he says the second Sin City movie wasn't bad; it just came out way too late. Yeah, that's kind of the impression I got. Those were great movies. The first one was a great movie. It's a great read. Um, what else we got over here? Best war films. Yeah, I don't know. Um, I'm not super big on war films. Uh, my favorite, though, I think, is Mel Gibson's We Were Soldiers. I really like that movie. Um, a lot of people would say Saving Private Ryan, but I never cared for that movie. I will say though the no the D-Day scene, the Normandy scene or whatever, that's fantastic. I actually remember when I was going to see Starship Troopers as a kid. Um, I was actually grounded, and my dad wasn't going to go take me to see it because I think I was dicking off at school and my grades were in the shitter. Um, but the movie theater was so fucking close to me, I just wandered off one day after school and went and go saw it. But it was an R-rated movie. I couldn't buy a ticket for it because I was like, I don't know, 13, 14 maybe. And so I just bought a ticket to, I think, like Zorro or some shit, and then just went into the Starship Troopers theater because nobody noticed. You got a ticket, and they didn't follow you to your theater or anything. But it wasn't showing at first, and it wasn't even open, so I had to kill some time, and I wandered into the Saving Private Ryan theater, and I watched the I think it was, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Saving Private Ryan because it was, yeah, it had to have been because it was that Normandy scene. It's just fantastic. There's that one scene where like the medic is like trying to revive this guy who got, I don't know, was bleeding out or something, and like he's starting to open his eyes and revive this guy, and then like a bullet hits his helmet dead on, so it's able to go through his helmet and into his head. Um, Somebody says The Great Escape, All Quiet on the Western Front. Yeah, those are both good movies. I don't know why I didn't think of them. I like both of those. Mm, The Longest Day. I don't think I've seen that one. Kelly's Heroes. I don't think I don't think I've seen Kelly's Heroes, to be honest. I like The Great Escape, but I don't think I've seen Kelly's Heroes. I probably have, but it just never stuck with me. So he says, "Go to bed, you degenerate." No, I've been out of a job long enough. I have completely reverted to my nocturnal ways. I am usually up till 3 at the falling asleep at 3. It's falling asleep early for me. Kelly's Heroes isn't exactly a war movie, Bechtloff. You must see it. I mean, I'm pretty sure I did see it. I'm sure that's one of the movies my dad loved as a kid that I'm sure I watched a bunch of times but barely paid attention to. Somebody says Full Metal Jacket is good. Kind of. I really like Full Metal Jacket in the all the boot camp stuff. Once he gets out of boot camp, which I think is like halfway through the film. Half the film is like them actually at war. I just get fucking bored. It's just yet another war movie. But the boot camp stuff is just fucking amazing. But yeah, again, my favorite war movie is probably We Were Soldiers. That movie actually, that really got to me. Nobody mentioned Apocalypse Now. Yeah, I like Apocalypse Now. I'll be honest with you, I think it's a touch overrated, but understand, I'm not saying it's a bad movie by any stretch. I'm not even saying it's not a really good movie. I'm just saying I don't think it's quite the god tier movie everyone says it is. Yeah. When I say it's overrated, by no means am I throwing any real shade at it. It's just I don't think it's quite as fucking good as everyone says. We Was Soldiers? No, We Were Soldiers is the name of the movie. It's a Vietnam War movie Gibson did. You know, he did another one that was pretty good. I mean, it wasn't quite as realistic. It was a bit more movie-esque. But called The Patriot, I think it was. It was like a Revolutionary War type movie. That one was pretty good. But that was more a movie with like clear-cut good guys and bad guys and shit like that. The Vietnam one was just more about just war in general, where you're once you get in the thick of it, you're often not fighting for a cause so much as just for the guy next to you and for yourself. Bechtloff, you weren't kidding about Amish drowning in manure pits. I'm finding all kinds of articles about it. You sure are, because it's true. I was not kidding at all. The drill instructor in Full Metal Jacket was actually a drill instructor in real life. He sure was, and he made a good career at playing that exact character over and over again. You know what movie he was in there? It was actually because I was kind of a kid when I saw it. I think I was like 12 or something. It was the first time I ever really saw him doing that role. Was a movie Michael J. Fox did called The Frighteners, where he was just sort of an amateur ghost hunter type guy. And like one of the friendly ghosts he knew was a drill sergeant that was just that guy playing a drill sergeant. That's not a bad movie as far as being that sort of scientific approach on hunting ghosts that sort of spawned after Ghostbusters. There were a few in that sort of genre, and Frighteners is pretty good. Sorry, getting some water. Somebody says, does Hacksaw Ridge count? I've not seen Hacksaw Ridge. I've been meaning to. I don't get to rent as many movies anymore. I mean, like the Redbox never seems to have that many movies, and I don't know. I don't want to just buy movies. I missed the video store, damn it. I hate relying on Redbox and Netflix. It's just not as good of a selection as the good old-fashioned video store used to be. Does John Wick movies count? Those are great movies. Damn, I remember The Frighteners. Good movie, yeah. Aaron Clary's in the chat, and somebody commented Clary ran out of alcohol. That's why he's here. I don't know. I don't know why he's here. Isn't this past old man Clary's bedtime? You know, I mean, he's got to get up early for the early bird special, right? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. So he says, I only watch Westerns now. Everything else just seems like so much cultural Marxism. Are they even making any decent Westerns anymore? I've never been a big fan of the Westerns, to be honest. Never been a big Western guy. There's a few here and there I've enjoyed, but for the most part, not a fan. And Clary says 10% senior discount at coffee at McDonald's. Yep. So he says, get Jim in here again. You know, honestly, Jim could come on this channel any fucking time he wants. I mean, I had to fight the urge to fanboy around Jim. You know, oh my God, it's Oliver Queen. So he says Tombstone and Unforgiven are both amazing. Yeah, they are. It's kind of a more goofy Western, but I liked Maverick that Mel Gibson did. But then again, I've always been a sucker for Mel Gibson. He's pretty cool. The only John Wayne movie I ever liked is The Shootist. That's the only one I ever liked. And honestly, I probably would have preferred it if, you know, somebody who could fucking act was in it. But that's the only John Wayne movie I've ever liked. John Wayne sucked. Motherfucker talked like he had a stroke all the time. Just talked like he just had a stroke like a day ago. And the reason he did that, this is a funny little tidbit about that dumbass. When he was a young guy, one of the cowboys was still fucking alive. One of the legendary cowboys. When he was a young guy working at Hollywood in the golden age. And I don't remember which fucking legendary cowboy it was, but it doesn't matter. Point is that's how that guy talked, and John Wayne mimicked it, thinking that's how cowboys talk. When really that's how like 100-year-old motherfucker talks who's on the verge of death. Yeah, John Wayne, I never thought he could act. I mean, you compare him to someone who's kind of his contemporary, a bit behind him as far as time-wise, but Clint Eastwood. Compared to Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood's a fucking fantastic actor. All right? And also managed to do a lot of stuff outside of the fucking, you know, Western genre that people adored, you know? I mean, he damn near, you know, invented the rogue cop who doesn't play by the rules, but he gets results genre. Plus, Mel, you know, our Clint Eastwood's still fucking cool as shit now. I mean, Gran Torino is a fucking amazing movie. Bechtloff, what is your opinion of the movie Cool as Ice? What, the Vanilla Ice fucking vanity project? Obscurus Lupa, who's one of the few Channel Awesome people I still kind of like, actually did a video years ago with the troll title of Cool as Ice is better than Citizen Kane. And I mean, the whole time she's just, you know, joking and trolling like, yeah, sure, Citizen Kane, but Citizen Kane doesn't have somebody with that sweet fade in their hair. The Wayne movies are the worst Westerns, shallow, superficial. Yeah. And that's again why I like The Shootist. The Shootist was not that. It was, the world was moving on from the wild, wild west, and here's this cowboy who just, this old fuck who's just trying to die in peace, and no one will let him because he made so many enemies. I like that movie. I'm a sucker for the old, on death's door hero who, he's just trying to live his last days in peace, and all the enemies he's made from his many adventures come back to haunt him. I'm a sucker for those kind of stories. But yeah, that's the only John Wayne movie I like. It's funny, my dad fucking adores John Wayne, and I bust his balls about him all the time. First of all, there's all those rumors that John Wayne was gay. Now, I mean, I don't necessarily know that they're true, but they fucking exist, and that could have just been, faggots like to pretend everybody's gay, but whatever. The point is, I love teasing my father with that because you'd swear I accused him of being gay. He takes it so personally. He was not gay. And like if I see him watching a John Wayne movie, I'll just tease him about it. I'll be like, so like, did he have a stroke? What's wrong with him? It was one where John Wayne's character is meeting a son he didn't know he had in one of these westerns or something. And I just like, the boy's just gonna be like, hey, that thing you're doing with your voice, that's not gonna happen to me, is it? That's not hereditary, is it? Your voice, like, you sound like a retard. That's not gonna happen to me, is it? Yeah, John Wayne sucked. John Wayne sucked. Honestly, I hope, like, if he was actually gay, I hope somebody like digs up definitive proof before all the fucking boomers die, because I just want to take the piss out of one of their fucking icons. Just fuck the boomers. Well, I think I'm going to wrap this up. Bechtloff streams for another hour. Well, I think I'm going to take some callers. Bechtloff takes no callers. Well, it's just how I roll. Somebody says my dad adores John Wayne as well. Yeah, it's a boomer thing. It's Hollywood. Everyone's gay in Hollywood, or at least willing to pretend for a part. John Wayne was before the boomers. Yeah, he was. I would say his biggest years were during the boomers coming of age. Boomers had Paul Newman. Boomers love a lot of stupid shit. Oh yeah, boomers will pretend like the Beatles were high art to this day. When I mean, the Beatles were basically just the Backstreet Boys of their time. They were just a fucking boy band. I mean, maybe they were arguably the first boy band. If you don't count out any of the fucking, colored folk who were doing that sort of shit. All the Motown shit of guy groups before. But yeah, that's all they were. They were just a fucking boy band. They made cute little pop songs. That's it. I know there's nothing wrong with that. There's certainly a place for that. I like cheesy, fun pop songs too. All right, but 50 fucking years from now, I'm not going to act like fucking Backstreet Boys or New Kids on the Block or something were high art. And yeah, I know the Beatles did a bunch of fucking artsy stuff later in their career, and that stuff all sucked. Even most Beatle fans are like, yeah, that stuff's shit. So he says Lamb of God greater than the Beatles. I don't know about that. I mean, the Beatles are tolerable. I don't think the Beatles ever sang any "Cuck My Life into Pieces" songs. Let's see. Sorry, I'm reading through the chat. Trying. I know. Quiet. It's not exactly good radio. Beatles are a sacred cow that needs to be kicked around. Oh yeah, and don't get me wrong. There's a lot of fucking Gen X and millennial hipsters that are all about the Beatles too, and they need slapped in the fucking face. Lindsay Ellis is all about the fucking Beatles. What does that tell you? That fucking hyper leftist cunt. Um, it's those first 40 or 50 simple love songs that are good. The rest of the stuff is comedy propaganda. Yeah, that's again, they're cheesy, cute little pop songs. You know, that stuff's all fine. Um, there's a place for that stuff. That's fine. You know, their later stuff where it was all they were quote unquote being deep, that was shit. That was shit. It was bad, and they should feel bad. Now, interestingly enough, some of the like I guess like Paul McCartney and shit, some of the guys who had solo careers from that group, you know, and did kind of soft rock in the 70s and 80s, that stuff was actually okay. They got better. They weren't fucking singing communist propaganda anymore. Somebody says Kurt Cobain is overrated. Absolutely. Oh man, God, fucking Nirvana sucked. Like I have I'm usually listening to the '90s channel, the '90s on 9 or Pop 2K on my Sirius. Just because late '90s, early 2000s is just music I'm nostalgic for. You know, if a song was playing the first time you groped a boob, it tends to endear itself to you. But yeah, if like fucking Nirvana comes on the '90s station, I'm like, fuck that. So he says, is Lindsay Ellis the baby killer? Yes, Lindsay Ellis is the one that had an abortion and made a fucking Victim Bucks documentary on it. Lindsay Ellis will go nat sock if she gets a dose of vitamin D. That's fucking funny as hell. Can you imagine? And I mean, the nat socks are basically leftists who are racially motivated whites. I mean, you look like Richard Spencer, guys doesn't care about abortion or gays and has socialist fucking economic views. You know, back in my day, we used to call those leftists. Um, so he says Kurt Cobain is overrated, but his tears above Nickelback. All right, you know what? I'm going to take a moment here. I don't get the fucking Nickelback hate. I don't get that fucking meme. Because don't get me wrong, most Nickelback songs suck a dick. I think, what was that? I think it was like their first hit, that This Is How You Remind Me song or something. I kind of like that song. And there's a song from like 04 called Someday that I kind of like. Um, every other Nickelback song I think is kind of shit. But here's the thing though. I don't see how that's any different than like every other fucking modern rock group. You know, that isn't just like really, really fucking hard metal. All modern rock sounds like that kind of butt rock now. All right. I turn on like 105.70X in my area, and basically every fucking song sounds like Nickelback. Unless it sounds like some fucking screaming, indecipherable punk / metal that sounds like nothing. Somebody says, is it true Tiffany Trump was playing hard to get by taking out a restraining order against you? Yeah, but I mean, I'm wearing her down. I'm wearing her down. But anyways, as I was saying about Nickelback, there are 2 songs I think are okay. That officially puts them above Nirvana in my book, because every Nirvana song I've ever heard makes me wish I was fucking deaf and could never hear again. Just normie back. It's almost become like a normie meme to hate on Nickelback, though. That's the weird thing about it. Let's see. He says, I've heard most of their hate comes from their chords being very basic and comprising whole songs. You know, the one criticism I keep hearing about them, and it drives me up the wall because I don't see how it's at all valid. They're like, because my one buddy was all like, well, they don't write their own music. I'm like, well, who cares? I mean, like, don't get me wrong, it's more impressive if you're writing your own music, sure. But I mean, you know, some people are good at writing songs and some people are good at performing them. I mean, it's like being mad that your fucking pizza delivery guy didn't also cook it. Uh, like, I don't understand. You either think the song is good or you don't, you know, and whether it took fucking 50 people to make it or one, you either like the song or you don't at the end of the day. Being overly concerned about how the fucking insider baseball bullshit of how the song was made is hipster shit. All right. Don't get me wrong, that stuff's all interesting. It's cool to nerd out about something that you're really into. But at the end of the day, the piece of media, the piece of art, the piece of entertainment should stand or fall on its own merits. It's either good or it's not. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like backgrounds like that. Fucking one of the oldie songs I really like is "Sitting on the Dock of the Bay" by Otis Redding. And that guy like killed himself shortly after that song, or I think it might have been I don't know. He died shortly after it. I think it was a suicide. I know he died shortly after it, but that song kind of sounds like a fucking suicide note. So it's kind of cool to know he died afterwards. It makes it even more morbid and haunting. But that song's a fucking great song with or without that knowledge. Um, let's see. A bunch of people. Looks like I'm partway into a conversation in the chat there. Um, the Beatles were better when they didn't write their own music. Yeah, basically. I mean, look, if you're a singer, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're good at writing songs. Vice versa. You know, I mean, back in I've been listening to some 60s on 6 actually here recently, just because something to a bit of a change. You know, if I get tired of my music, I'll go back because I listened to a lot of oldies as a kid. Because obviously, you know, your parents picking the station, and I kind of thought the other day was like, you know, Neil Diamond was a very average singer, just unremarkable. You can't even say bad, but man, he was a hell of a songwriter. And so many fucking songs were written by him, like that he didn't perform and all. You know, you can be good at different fucking things. This idea that, you know, they weren't the fucking, I'm going to hate on this band because they're not fucking Renaissance men who do every goddamn thing. It's just hipster shit. It just sounds like that's a criticism you heard that you're latching onto. Let's see. A bunch of people talking about different fucking rock bands I've never even heard of. Well, I mean, some of these I've never heard of. I think I've heard of fucking Rush, but I don't know. I've never heard of fucking, what the hell is this one? Um, let's see what else going on in chat here. Yeah, it's a bunch back and forth on rock bands. I don't really care. Let's see what else we got going on here. How long have I been going on? Let's see, about an hour. I'll probably go ahead and wrap it up then. Yeah, I think I'll go ahead and wrap this up then. All right, folks. Everybody, I want to thank you all for listening. I appreciate the listenership. I really do. It's still every once in a while. It's almost touching that anybody gives a shit what I have to say. If you enjoy the show, there's the tip jar there, and tips of any size are greatly appreciated. And as I've said before, it's a very good thing to support the alternative media you like. And I'm not just saying that about me, whatever alternative media you enjoy. If it's Christopher Cantwell, if it's, that guy T, if it's, you enjoy wanking it to Lauren Southern, whatever. It's good to support the alternative media you enjoy. Yeah. So if you enjoy the show, tips of any size, greatly appreciate it down below there. And also, like, comment, subscribe. That helps this channel grow. Share this content on the Twitter machine, that kind of thing. That's all great. And I appreciate all that stuff. All right. So that's all we got for tonight, folks. I'm going to go to bed, or at least try and get some sleep here. Talk to you all later. Back